Good morning, everyone. This is Max, and welcome to another episode of Max Bytes. It is Monday, and it's a beautiful day out, actually, where I'm at. I wonder how everybody's doing. How's everybody doing? What's new? Hope everybody's having a good start to their week. I know it's been kind of a really interesting week, right? Last 7 days, 10 days. Um, there's been a lot of anxiety, a ton of misinformation from both sides and from all over the place. I think the world's gone mad, is how I walk away from it sometimes. It took me a while to process and digest everything. Um, I know a lot of my subscribers and followers, and that's what I do Max Bytes for, which is my mini podcast that I post on Telegram for you guys. I do it for you guys. This is always supposed to be like a positive sort of connecting with the public broadcast. And I know a lot of you have been concerned. I've gotten so many DMs in the last week, more than usual, from people who are really were concerned that, my goodness, we were going to be in a nuclear war. I I dropped a half-hearted post about that the night Russia invaded the Ukraine, and pointed out that, yeah, if the United States and a united West were to respond militarily, it could be very, very bloody, and it could definitely lead to a Holocaust or a conventional war that would destroy civilization as we know it. That's a really dramatic way of putting it, though. Um, but I want to start off by just saying to you guys, and this is going to be short, and I think hopefully concise, and it helps you out. I want everyone to just take a deep breath, step away, and remember the 24/7 propaganda that's been pushed on every single American, and for that matter, European and Australian, basically everyone in the civilized world, and I use that term very loosely. And I would say around the globe, global propaganda that's been pushed on us by all sides for 2 years. Okay. And so much overreaction, knee jerking in response to blatant lies that has caused so much confusion and consternation that some people sadly have even taken their own lives or are in states of depression. Um, take a deep breath and do what I do. Turn off the I don't watch television like at all. I don't. Um, I don't really subscribe to any podcasts. I do my own research and just draw my own conclusions, and I have my own way of looking at things. I've said this before. Read mine. You can mine my Telegram and posts and see. I've mentioned this before. My recommendations are for information and news, but I read a lot of the same things that you guys do, and I just shake my head, and I just think I'm reminded of Raphael Sabatini's famous line from Scaramouche where he says that, and I'm paraphrasing it, the world is mad, right? Um, I don't believe there's going to be nuclear war. I don't believe there'll even really be much of an there may be an escalation, but it'll be confined to the region. I don't think it's going to involve NATO at this time. Now, we'll know more. It'll be easier to really, in about 10 days, draw those conclusions. Um, I'll say to you this, that when it started, it looked bleaker than it is now. And every passing day, it doesn't look quite as bad. But I think people that are very, very afraid that the impotence and lack of leadership, for lack of a better way of putting it, that's the best way to put it, is, or incompetence and stupidity of his fraudulency and his ilk. It's amateur hour. That type of person sitting in the White House and the leadership we don't have right now has led us to this. You know, a strong leader like President Trump, or even a Ron DeSantis, or someone else that was somewhat strong in the White House right now, I don't think he'd be having this breakout in Eastern Europe. Not like this, because dictators respect strength. Okay, but I think it's interesting what's going on because we're actually seeing everything just out on the screen if you really know what you're looking at. And the fact of the matter is, I said this earlier today. I think the Russian army is a paper tiger the more this goes on. I was reading in an article on Hot Air, which I go there just for laughs, but if it's somewhat true that they've already used two-thirds of their military and they're holding back a third of it to invade Ukraine, and they're having a hard time in the Russian provinces in Ukraine to the east, subduing them. So they started this bombarding of those areas and leveling of the places where the Russian people really occupy those areas, and those are parts of Ukraine where they're ethnically Russian. That says a lot right there. This should have been wrapped up in 48 hours, 72 hours, and the longer this thing goes on, I mean, it costs a tremendous amount of money, and with heavy sanctions and whatnot, I don't think Putin's going to launch nuke. Why would you launch nukes in response to that? For what? So you just blow up the whole world and nobody's left alive? And if he's that crazy, I said he would be crazy to invade, and he's crazy to invade. But that's a separate conversation. I just want to tell everybody that everything's going to be okay. Look how far we've come. 8 months ago, 7 months ago, 8 months ago, we were being told that we were going to have to get inoculations, vaccines to work. We were being threatened with our jobs. People still are afraid of losing their jobs. We thought this was going to become sort of like a mini or a larger version of Australia, a dictatorship. Months later, you see police departments in major cities enforcing draconian measures against residents. And I mean, as late as Thanksgiving, everyone was thinking that this was the direction in which this country was going, even though we were already winning court cases by then. And I said to you back in June, July, I said all this was going to pass and none of it was going to work out. I said it in Max Bytes, and I told people to calm down. I said it actually. I was at that time I had been with some crazy. I was in an Uber, and I had been with some crazy driver who had two masks on his face and told me to sit in the back, and then he had all fans blowing on me and he had the windows open. It was insane. These are the type of crazy people we thought were going to take over the country and subjugate us to some sort of Stalinistic re-education. And what happened? you know what happened? Well, they started losing like a lot. Like they started losing in courts, and then finally November 3rd happened. And was it November 3rd or November 2nd? I don't even remember which one it was. But one of those two. But what happened was Virginia. And all of a sudden, oh, oops, yeah, they're worried about losing elections, and they lost big. And they're going to lose bigly in November. They're going to be wiped off the face of American politics from coast to coast. I'm going to be talking about this in May. Civics Maximus 2022, if you want to attend. That's going to be my big 2-day seminar where I'm going to give you all my projections for all the races that I've analyzed. And then I'll give updates to that on Maximus Premium. And if you want to sign up for Maximus Premium, you want to be put down on the waiting list for that, contact Roxy. The handle is below the description here of this podcast. But just click her handle and tell her to put you down for that, because I'll be updating on all different races in that private chat. And on that private channel. But the thing is, we're going in the right direction. We're winning. We're winning big. So, COVID is suddenly gone and not an issue, I guess, anymore. The vaccine mandates are gone. You have Boston abandoning their policy with passports, and other cities will follow suit. The mask mandates are being abandoned. I heard New York today actually is abandoning their masks for children. So we're winning. It's just because they're looking at the handwriting on the wall. Yes, you're absolutely right. It's a political move. But just like the decision was political in the first place, and I believe frankly, a lot of the people on the far left that are in politics did what they did because they thought that's what the constituents wanted. It's not always done for nefarious reasons. It's sometimes done it's just done on the sheer stupidity and lunacy. That they actually think that people want to be put in bondage. And for that matter, unfortunately, about a third of this country are masked all the time and are going to probably live like that for the rest of their lives. But you probably don't want to look at their faces anyway, so who cares? So the thing is, we are at a place now where we need to stop, breathe, step back. Remember, all of this disinformation is being pushed on us 24/7, not only on us, on everybody, even the people we don't agree with. And we are at the cusp of winning. We're staring at towards the end of the year, an election that's going to change the course of American politics probably for 2 decades. Bigger than 2016. I'm starting to see that. If you're not seeing that, I don't know, you're obviously not following my channel. So, I invite you to go back and look at my older postings. And I'll get more into that in the coming months. Obviously, I'm doing seminars on it. I have a new channel going up just dedicated to that kind of information, and where people can post questions, and I'll answer all their questions that are posted to members. But be that as it may, everything's going to be fine. And I don't want people to sit there and worry. Just like I'm actually just sort of like a sequel to what I said. I don't remember what Max Bytes it was back in June or July, but I told people when Biden was about to come out and sign his executive orders, said all of this is going to pass, nothing's going to happen. Like, he's not going to get anywhere with this. I didn't know how well we were going to do in courts at the time. I thought we would lose some and win some, but we won almost all those court decisions. And I did not know how fast it was going to accelerate. Like, this thing was going to like be like a skyrocket. It was going to go up and come crashing right down so quickly. I thought we'd still be fighting about this into 2022. And apparently it's over. It's like gone. We've won that war. It's a quiet victory because no one's talking about it anymore. But there's not going to be a nuclear war. It isn't the end of civilization as we know it. Please, relax. Go buy a bottle of wine if that's what you like to do. Sit down, like Paul says, have a little wine. It's good for the stomach. When I say Paul, I mean the Apostle Paul, St. Paul. And enjoy yourself. Just relax. Put on a movie, what have you. If you don't believe in drinking, fine. Sit down and have a good meal with your family. Watch, drink some milk, whatever. I don't know, whatever you do to go out and relax. Get out. Enjoy life. Breathe the fresh air. Because the Democrats' days are numbered. And I want to segue real quick, and I'll finish up with this a little more I just want to develop a little bit of what I was saying earlier. Both sides have extremists, okay? It isn't just black and white as everyone thinks it is. Both sides are wrong-minded in areas. Both sides have loonies. Both sides, because there's not just really two sides, there's multiple sides of things on top of it, which makes it even more complex, right? Both sides, but I'm going to use it for lack of a better way, it's just easier to say this, both sides proceed from false assumptions. Okay, never Trumpers want war and hate Russia at all costs because they've spent years deluding themselves that Trump was a Russian asset. Okay, they also want to deflect from the conditions of the United States right now and not allow people to stop and think for a minute, well, who's the president? And where the blame should be. They don't want you to stop and think that we have an incompetent fool sitting in the White House, an illegitimate fool. Oh, and like I said to you a minute ago, just think about this, like the conditions here, whatever happened to COVID? Whatever happened to the vaccines and the vaccine mandates and now the mask mandates, and what happened to all of that? It's like it's gone. Like no one cares about it anymore. That was going to be the thing that was going to send us into a dark nuclear winter. Worse than any nuclear winter. A dark winter where we're all going to die. Aren't we all supposed to be dead now? Stupid. Guess it's all gone. They don't want you to think about the inflation. They don't want you to think about the unemployment rate, which isn't really that good when you think about how people are employed. They don't want you to think about the thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs that have affected millions of people that have closed up that'll never come back. They don't want you to think about the fact that we have a border crisis that's out of control, that they themselves, their own people admit is the worst they've ever seen before. They don't want you to think about the supply chain problems we're having. They want you to worry about the supply chain problems that the Ukrainians and the Russians are having. They don't want you to think about the fact that the U.S. military probably couldn't win a major conflict anymore. It could contain it. I don't know if it could outright win two major theatrical wars like it did 70 years ago. They don't want you to talk about. They don't want you to focus on the wokeness that's going on. I don't use that term often because it's not my thing, but it applies here. They don't want you to talk about the failures of Hollywood. They don't want you to talk about how every film. Think about it. The Matrix Resurrections come out. This is something I thought was kind of interesting, and it totally bombs at the box office. I wonder why. I didn't even see it. And I'm a fan of the original Matrix. I have no idea, really, because I haven't seen it. I can't make a decision, except that I could just assume that they shoved a bunch of garbage in there. They don't want you to talk about that. They don't want to talk about any of this. They don't want you to think on this. They want you to focus on Russia and Ukraine and a war in Europe because they themselves have been programmed into thinking about that. That's on their side. On the right, we often confuse, strength with honor. Sometimes people who are very strong are not honorable. And that's a mistake I see through history. People confuse strength with honor. It's nuts. It's really nuts. Like the only corruption can possibly be in Ukraine and America. I hear a lot of people talking about the corruption in the Ukraine. All of a sudden, they're experts on corruption in the Ukraine. It's like no one was talking about this years ago when President Trump was calling up the Ukraine trying to get the goods on Biden. We already know this corruption. There's corruption in every government. Come on, hello. Aren't you a student? You should be a student of history. You know corruption exists in every government. Stop for a moment and think about this. The Russians wrote the book on propaganda. What do you think the MSM learned it from? They're a bunch of communists. You say, who do you mean by they, Max? I mean the MSM and the Russians. The Russian government. There are a lot of ex-commies in there. Hello? The Russians wrote the book on propaganda. They and the Nazis, the Ministry of Propaganda, both sides. I'm reminded of what George C. Scott said as Patton in the movie Patton. Remember that movie? You should all go back and watch it. He was asked towards the end by a reporter. It was a leading question that he says, didn't you say that if you found your army, the Third Army, caught between the Russians and the Nazis, you'd attack in both directions? And Patton purportedly said, no, I never said any such thing, but I wish I had. I mean, you can stop and think. A bunch of white nationalists, racists, the Nazis is what I'm talking about, white supremacists, if you would, were bad and evil and misled their public. And the Russians did the same thing, the Russian government. Under Stalin, it was evil, corrupt, and no good. Another strong man. The United States' job is to attack all of these. That's what we should be doing. That's where the honor's in. Exposing them for what they are. You got Jennifer Griffin. Remember her, that lying weasel? You got Jennifer Griffin on Fox correcting people like she's a fact checker. I mean, yes. I did see it on Real Clear. No, was it Real Clear Politics? Actually, it was Twitter. Somebody had a clip of what she said. And she's fact checking some general or what have you. I don't know. I've watched 2 or 3 of her clips in the last couple of hours. And if I hear her say one more time about how she spent her life in Moscow, I'm going to pull my hair out. I mean, it's like, was she born in Moscow? She keeps going around, she's born in Moscow or something, and that makes her an expert on Vladimir Putin, whatever. Suddenly she's rediscovering the truth, though, because I did hear her at the end where she said that removing troops from Germany was crazy, and that was a ding towards President Trump. I actually agreed with her. And I thought that was a bad idea when it was recommended during the Trump administration. So, because she had followed, apparently, there was some Trump former Trump DOD advisor that was on, some general, brigadier general or something like that, who was saying that the U.S. should completely withdraw from the world and go into isolation mode because it would make it easy for Putin or something. I don't know what his point was. I listened to him, and I couldn't figure it out. These are the kind of quacks that you have up there right now. Now, what makes you really wonder why, you shouldn't wonder, why Trump had no friends in the Department of Defense. I'm going to say this, and I've said this before. Donald Trump had the worst advisors, period. I've never seen people that were so out of touch. Either they were idiots, morons. You could pick I know everybody can pick. You all can sit there and think, who was the worst Donald Trump advisor? And you can even leave it as a comment, because that's a question. It's an open-ended question. And I don't really care who you pick, because you're right. Whoever you pick, you're right. They were a bunch of people. I thought they were really, that's why he's not in office right now. And I'm talking about through the crisis. And if you've attended my seminars, I've talked to you about this more intimately about it and my familiarity with them. And the fact is that these people that he surrounded himself with, it's amazing, despite the bad people he had around him, I mean bad, not really smart, okay? He managed to still be a great president. Because thank God he didn't listen to them, is what I have to say. He didn't withdraw troops from Germany because he understood how stupid that was. Trump doctrine, and I've taught on this, Trump doctrine worked because Donald Trump, we could stop it right there with a period, but because Donald Trump essentially ran it from his smartphone, as crazy as that sounds, he used economic sanctions to leverage foreign powers to do what he wanted them to do. I mean, it's a tactic used in business, leveraging. Go and look it up, and that's what he was using. He blended business with politics. No, I mean, seriously, listening to Griffin follow that general, I said delete and delete. The only thing I agreed with in those two segments was Griffin's last statement, one of her last statements, when she said it was a bad idea, the idea of pulling U.S. troops out of the East. I don't agree with that. I think that I agree with her, and I don't agree with the policy of withdrawing, because this is what caused perceived weakness in D.C. in the White House is what's caused Putin to act like this. The belligerence that you're seeing right now. We need to stop for a moment, though, and admire. I want to just do this really quick. We have to admire. I don't care if you're pro-Ukraine or not. You really should rethink your position, though, if you hate the Ukrainian people, because they are a different culture and different ethnicity. Look them up, do your own research. Don't listen to stupid podcasts that people don't know what they're talking about. I'm an archaeologist, and that makes me an anthropologist. These are a different group of people. And we have to stop for a moment, no matter what, whatever your position may be, think about what an armed citizenry can do. It's driving a very large military crazy. I'm not saying they're going to win, but they're driving a very large military crazy. When you see teachers armed with AK-47s and SKSs, when you see them out in the street fighting, and don't tell me that that's all propaganda and those are fake videos, and that's a bunch of BS. The fact is, when you see them out there, this is why the Russians are having a hard time. Urban warfare is terrible. I mean, love them or hate them, the Ukrainians are not making it easy for the Russian military, the mighty Russian military. I guess then it's a Second Amendment, baby, on fire. I guess then a militia can't stop fighters, right? I guess remember what Joe Biden said? You can't stop, was it F-18s or whatever? Well, I guess they're doing a heck of a good job of stopping MiGs. So, and I know it's not just them. I know there's the regular Ukrainian military, but I'm saying is, boy, if you ever had any doubt that the Second Amendment is necessary for the security of a free state, the right of the people in Ukraine to keep and bear arms should never be infringed. And it's great to see that. I don't care where you see it in the world. When you see people defending their homes physically, that's fabulous. And we should applaud that because they are defending their homes. If we were there right now, hopefully we would be fighting alongside of them. Where does this all get us? I don't know. I tell you this, though, at the end of the day, I don't think there's going to be war. And I mean, a full-fledged nuclear war or anything like that's not going to happen. I don't believe it. The scripture doesn't imply it, not if the church is here. And I'm not going to get into theology with you guys. If you want to know my opinion on Christianity and theology, watch my interviews with Courtney Turner on her podcast. On YouTube, you can see it I have them dropped on my Telegram posts. You could scroll up, you could find the old posts with the links to those on YouTube from last year. I did two major long interviews with her on, one of them was just strictly on faith. But I don't think so. It's not going to happen. And I just want everybody to relax, do their own thing, go about their business, get out, enjoy themselves, enjoy their families, get to work, work out in the gym, exercise, relax, do whatever you do to de-stress and be calm. I also want to tell you, I want to thank everybody that attended my seminar over the weekend. Last week actually was a long weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We did Pirates, Buccaneers, Privateers, Our Matey, and the Search for Buried Treasure. It was absolutely fabulous. It was one of the two largest seminars I have ever had. Well, God bless you all. I love you. It was nice talking to you, and I hope you have a wonderful week. And let me know, thumbs up, what have you. Give a heart, a love. Comments are very appreciated. People that take out the time to actually write comments and feedback are very appreciated. And let me know if you want another Max Bytes and what you want it on. I'll talk to you later. Be well. Ciao.